You wouldn't believe my reaction when I decided to go on social media the other day while I was at work, just casually scrolling, half pretending to be productive, and boom! The first thing I see, Charles Oliveira. And not just a training pic or a random update. Nah, the man is booked. My jaw dropped. Eyes wide. I'm staring at my phone like, no freaking way. Because Charles Oliveira is back already. It's only been a few weeks since Ilia Topuria slapped him clean, and now he's headlining a UFC fight night in Brazil against Rafael Fiziev. And honestly, I do not really like this matchup. Not because Charles can't win, I actually think he can, but the timing is just wild. We're talking about a guy who's flatlined, okay? Now he's jumping back into a full camp almost immediately. That's not normal. That's not a normal turnaround, especially for a guy that fights of this caliber. And Fiziev is not some tune-up fight either. He's dangerous. He's an explosive striker. He has nasty kicks. He's hard to take down. And he's got that kind of style that can make those early rounds hell, dude. And look, anytime a fighter comes back this quick after getting cold, you already know the debate's coming. Oh, his chin is gone. He's rushing it. His career is over. And I get it. Charles just got sent to the shadow round by Ilia Topuria. And now he's back in a 5-rounder. In what? A month and a half. That is insane because the commissions usually give a 45 to 90 day medical suspension after a knockout. The UFC's way of saying, hey, don't be dumb, take some time off. But that's not the real danger window. The fight itself isn't even the problem. It's starting another full-on training camp right after your brain just got shot off. Hard sparring, high-paced drills, getting clipped in practice. That's where the risk shoots up. And yeah, we've seen it go bad before. I mean, Taito Ivasa took that quick turnaround after that Cyril Gane fight and ran straight into Sergey Pavlovich. 3 punches, lights out, momentum gone. Chris Weidman tried the quick bounce back a couple times after getting brutally knocked out, and we all saw how that went, okay? It's like trying to boot up a computer after it overheats. You can do it, but don't be surprised if the fan starts making weird noises. And the thing is, he's not coming back against some soft touch. This isn't Charles shaking off the rust against a guy with one UFC win and a Wikipedia page where you have to scroll to find it. This is Rafael Fiziev. And Fiziev is one of those dudes where if you give him the first 10 minutes of a fight, he is a nightmare, dude. He's got that pure Muay Thai base, nasty switch kicks to the body, brutal leg kicks, sharp combinations, and he's built like a little tank. If Charles just plants that high guard and walks forward without making him work, Fiziev's gonna go digging into those ribs, chopping the legs, and trying to make those later rounds as miserable as possible. The part that makes this gamble scary is Fiziev's takedown defense. You look at a guy like Gamrot, and I personally think Gamrot is one of the best pure wrestlers at the lightweight division. He was getting in deep in a lot of those shots, and Fiziev just found a way to stay upright. And you know Charles, he's going to want this fight on the ground. That's where the submission threat is. That's where he's night and day better. But getting Fiziev there, that's a lot easier said than done, okay? And here's the other thing. Fiziev's not Ilia. He's not some surgical one-shot sniper who just times you perfectly and puts your lights out. He can crack, but the power of like a Gagey or a Poirier or even a Topuria level, he doesn't have that. What he is explosive. He could put together a combo, mix levels, and if you're not careful, you'll find yourself backing up, eating a head kick or a body kick before you even know what happened. But here's the thing, man, and this is where I'm probably gonna sound like I'm talking myself into it. Charles still has weapons here, like real weapons. He's the bigger guy in this matchup. He's longer, he's lankier, he's more physical in those clinch spots, and Fiziev, for all the stuff that he's great at, the clinch is not where he shines. You tie him up, you start ripping uppercuts, knees to the body, you lean that weight on him. We've seen guys make him uncomfortable there. Justin Gaethje was having success doing that. And Charles is way more of a dangerous grappler in those situations. And the grappling gap, in my opinion, is huge. I mean, it's night and day huge. If Charles gets his hands locked on Fiziev, whether that's from a trip in the clinch, a body lock, or even just pulling guard, that's a bad place for Fiziev to be in. He's not going to want to hang out there in Charles's guard. And Charles isn't shy about hunting submissions from anywhere. Then there's the cardio thing, dude. Fiziev looks great in the first half of his fights, but by round 3, even in 3 rounders, you could see him taking his foot off the gas. Charles has been in these 5-round wars before. He knows how to keep pushing when the other guy starts fading. If Fiziev starts slowing down late in round 2 and Charles is still in his face, still throwing, still threatening with takedowns, that changes the whole fight. And honestly, Fiziev's power, I think it's a little overrated. Like I mentioned earlier, he's not Ilia, he's not Gaethje, he's not even Dustin Poirier. Yeah, he can hurt you, but he's not that guy who touches you and you're unconscious type of guy at lightweight. And Charles has taken big shots from bigger hitters and still found a way to win. So yeah, early rounds are going to be nerve-wracking for anyone rooting for Charles. Fiziev's going to be fresh, he's going to be dangerous, and Charles just got knocked out a few weeks ago. That's going to be in the back of everybody's mind. But if Charles survives that first wave and start focusing those ugly clinches exchanges, make him think twice about every kick full power. That's when Charles takes over. And if Charles survives that first wave, I'm going to be real with you guys, there's kind of a huge misconception around this fight because I'm being completely honest here. I think Charles Oliveira is going to beat Rafael Fiziev regardless. I am a bit worried, I'll be honest. And yeah, I said it. I think Rafael's a bit overrated. His best win is RDA, and he went to a split decision with Bobby Green. Look, I'm not saying that he's bad. I'm not saying that he's some bum off the street, but you can obviously see the UFC's got a soft spot for him. They want him to be, up there with those high-ranked guys because, let's be honest, his style is entertaining. I mean, the guy just beat a lower-ranked tier opponent, and now is receiving a big gift in return in fighting Charles Oliveira. But the more I think about it, man, the more I just don't see this fight being as competitive as people are making it out to be. Like, let's be real, man. Let's look at Rafael Fiziev's run. People act like he's been running through the top 5 killers. His best win, RDA. Solid name, legend of the sport, but we're talking about an older RDA. Up at lightweight in an Apex main event where he got stopped in round 5. And even that was one of those stoppages, where you could argue it went a little early. Before that, Moicano. Again, not a bad fighter, but not exactly the type of guy that gets you ready for Charles Oliveira. And his last fight against Ignacio, talented kid, but barely ranked and still figured out his game. Fiziev wins, a competitive decision there, and the UFC's like, cool, here's Charles in Brazil, which is just insane. And let's not pretend that Fiziev's been untouchable. That Bobby Green fight, split decision, Bobby's great, but that's not the kind of performance that screams this guy is going to walk through a former champion. And then you got the Gaethje fight, man. Fiziev had his moments earlier, but Justin figured him out and landed those same combinations that have been hitting him since the start of his UFC run. And when you stack that up against Charles' resume, come on, man, it's night and day. Charles has been in there with the absolute top of the division for years now. Gaethje, Poirier, Chandler, Ferguson, Kevin Lee, and he's not just even fighting them, he was finishing them. We're talking about a guy who choked out Poirier, dropped and subbed Gaethje, TKO Chandler. Fiziev hasn't been in those type of fights yet. That's the gap here. Fiziev's dangerous, no doubt about it, but he's been dangerous against guys who either aren't in their prime anymore or aren't in Charles's level. This is a huge step up for him. And people are acting like Charles is the only one who has to prove something here, when reality, Fiziev's the one who's walking into deep water for the very first time. And yeah, Fiziev's got the kicks. Like I mentioned earlier, he's got the explosive fighting style early. But if that early storm doesn't get Charles out of there, I just don't see him winning a drawn-out 5-round war against someone with Charles Oliveira's experience, size, and finishing ability. That's the other piece people aren't putting together about this fight enough. This isn't a 3-rounder. This is 5. That changes everything. In a 3-rounder, yeah, I can see Fiziev being a bigger problem. He can come out full throttle, throwing every kick at 100%, exploding in the pocket, and he only has to manage that gas tank for 15 minutes. But over 5, you can't fight like a maniac for 25 minutes. You got to pace yourself, you got to pick your moments, and you've got to be ready for the grind when those later rounds hit. And we've already seen Fiziev slow down in round 3 of 3-round fights, dude. Think about it. If Fiziev starts to take his foot off the gas after 10 or 12 minutes against a guy like Bobby Green, what happens when it's 18 minutes and it's Charles Oliveira and he's still in your face, still throwing, still threatening with takedowns, still grabbing the clinch and ripping the knees? that's when the danger flips completely. Charles has lived in those 5 round spaces, dude. He's fought for belts. He's been in high pressure main events where every exchange matters. He knows how to manage the pace and still keeps a dangerous output. And if you give him extra time, that just gives him more of a chance to find the neck, lock up an arm, or catch you slipping with a knee up the middle. And again, the experience gap here is massive. Fiziev's never been past round 5 once. The RDA fight, and that was an Apex main event where the atmosphere was dead quiet. This is a 5 round fight in Brazil in front of thousands of screaming fans against a guy who's been the man in the division. That's a whole different level of mental pressure. So if Fiziev doesn't get Charles out of there early, I think those last 2 rounds are going to be brutal for him. Charles is not the guy you want across from you when your legs feel heavy, when you're breathing hard, and you've got to keep your hands up for every feint. Because if you go down, you might not get back up. So for me, that's why this fight looks so different over 5. Fiziev has to be perfect early and has to land something clean and something big enough to actually keep Charles down. Charles, he just has to survive the storm, then go to work. And in 25 minutes, that's a lot of time for him to work with. And here's the thing, man. I really don't care which version of Fiziev shows up. I still think Charles gets him. Even if Fiziev comes in calm, measured, trying to fight the perfect fight that actually gets worse for him over 5 rounds, you're giving him, Charles, time to settle, to figure your timing, to start walking you down the cage like a slow motion, like a slow moving horror film, okay? And once Charles has you near the fence, the clinch is coming. From there, it's the knees up the middle, elbows over the top, uppercuts, maybe even a trip or just pulling guard if he has to. Fiziev's not going to go through those spots. He's basically inviting Charles to find them. Now, if Fiziev flips it and comes out crazy, try to make it into a car crash from the opening bell, now that's dangerous in the first 5 minutes for sure. He might even rock Charles, maybe even drop him. But history says Fiziev can't keep that same pace for long, even in a 3-round fight. And if you dump all that energy chasing the finish and Charles is still there in front of you in round 3, grinning through the mouthpiece like, all right, now it's my turn, you're in trouble, dude. Charles has made a career out of flipping fights just like that. And that's the thing, man. That's the thing that people forget. Charles doesn't need to dominate from the start. He just has to survive the worst part because he's the kind of guy who will eat a big shot, recover, and then punish you for not getting him out there early. And Fiziev, once he's tired, is not the same defensively, especially on the ground. That's where Charles can start chaining things together, turning scrambles into back takes into chokes. And before you know it, the fight is over. So really, it's pick your poison. Take it slow and give Charles all the time in the world to break you down piece by piece, or go all in early, gas yourself out against one of the most dangerous finishers in the sport. Either way, over 25 minutes, I just see Charles finding that window. And when he does, Fiziev's not the guy who's going to get out of it.